Yeah, so we started already networking and cyber attacks. So far, we completed three category of the attacks. First one is malware category. We completed already. Under that one, we have seen couple of the attacks like virus, worm, Trojan, ransomware, logic bomb, botnet, rootkit, and so on. In the similar way, we discussed about authentication failure category of the attacks. So under that one, we discussed about brute force, dictionary, pass the hash, rainbow table attack. In the similar way, we discussed about phishing email category. In the phishing email category, we discussed about what is meant by spear phishing, whaling, phishing, malicious malware attachment, and also malicious malware URL link in the similar phishing part. So these are all three different types of category of the attacks so far we completed. So let's start about new category of the attack that is called flooding category. So before going to start about what are the different types of flooding category of the attacks are there and how we can mitigate or remediate. So before going to that one, first I will give the small introduction about flooding category. Thereafter that we can discuss about what are the different types of flooding category attacks we do have. And if you want to monitor flooding category of the attacks, so then what type of traffic we have to integrate and how to integrate to SIM tool. In this similar way, finally, we can discuss about remediation and mitigation for the different types of category of the attacks. So that is the agenda. Once this one is completed, we have one more category is called spoofing category and finally miscellaneous category. So once these attacks are going to complete, then I will start endpoint security. Okay. So that's all about introduction part. Let's start. Flooding category. So what is in a flooding? First of all here, flooding is nothing but sending the large number of the request or more number of the request to targeted mission. So who will send this large number of the request or more number of the request or millions of the request? So these millions and billions of the request will be sent by attacker. So he will choose respect to selection of the target as per cyber process that is called as a recon. So based on the vulnerability scanning, based on the phishing email, or based on the support scanning mechanism, based on the bribing mechanism. So there are different ways attacker will choose the selection of the target. After choosing the selection of the target, now what attacker will do, instead of sending the one request, so attacker will send the millions of the request or billions of the request or large number of the request or flooding of the request to either end user machine or maybe database or maybe server or application and so on. So these are the target mission. Finally, so what the target mission will happen, it cannot handle those many requests. So finally, that particular target mission will become either crashed or damaged or unavailable or service is unavailable. Or finally, it will become interruption part. So that interruption is normally will be handled by respect to attacker. Why attacker has to do the service outage in case whenever he will do blackmailing of something, if you don't pay, obviously he will try to do that illegal activity or illegitimate activity or abnormal activity. So that is the reason attacker will do these type of things basically. So now, so finally our targeted mission will become unavailable or damaged or crashed. So that end user is not able to access any service. That service may be so any application oriented or database oriented or one of the web server oriented or any service basically. So that interruption is called as flooding category of the attack. Now coming back here, so we have three pillars in the any organization related information security. One is confidentiality, second one is integrity, third one is availability. So as per CIA triad or AIC triad, all flooding category of the attacks, it will appear damage or negative business impact to availability issue. So service interruption, service disruption, service is unavailable. So all these things will fall under the availability issue. Okay. So as per CIA triad, all flooding category of the attacks will cause by respect to availability issue. Okay. So now how we have to sorry. Now how we have to take care of these flooding category of the attacks. So we have to implement defense in depth layer approach. most of the attacks, it will appear from perimeter side to our internal organization as per trust zone. So first thing is we have to implement perimeter side security. When you say perimeter side security, basically it's a network security. It's internet facing security. So obviously, so as per network architecture diagram, hope you remember in your brain. So first thing is internet. From internet, it will come to ISP router. In the similar way, ISP router to firewall, firewall to proxy, proxy to network IDS, network IPS. In the similar way, our end user machines or maybe our internal servers. So that is nothing but it's incoming traffic basically. I can show the diagram as well. Before class has been started, so I was drawing this diagram. So I did not complete fully. Just I provided three different types of zones. One is trust zone, second one DMZ or DMZ, third one is untrust zone. So now, so attacker is sitting in the public. So this is obviously untrust zone. So attacker is sitting in the public zone or untrust zone or internet zone or external zone. Now, this particular attacker wants to hack one of the database server. In that scenario, now he has chosen recon selection of the target. Now he wants to send the flooding of the request. Now, how the traffic, it will come as a inbound traffic or incoming traffic. First, the traffic, it will hit internet. From internet, it will hit ISP router, nothing but internet service provider router. From there, it will reach to our firewall. It is nothing but perimeter firewall or internet facing firewall. From there, it will reach to our proxy, then network IDS, network IPS, after that routers, switches, and finally here database server. So now attacker will send the flooding of the request to this particular database server. Now what this database server will happen, now server will become unavailable or damaged or crashed, or finally business interruption or business disruption, it will appear. What is mean a business interruption or business disruption? Basically, whoever internal stakeholders are there in our organization, that may be our end users related to machine learning team, data science team, or Windows team, or Linux team, HR team, or legal team, and so on. They are not able to access the respective database. Not only from the internal employee or internal end users point of view, even take example of web server. So on top of web server, maybe we are hosting one of the net banking related to financial transaction, or be one of the patient monitoring related, healthcare related application, or maybe one of the application related travel based industry to book respect to ticket. So even external users also, whenever they are trying to access related to these applications, obviously they can't access. So because of this reason, customers will get dissatisfaction or disliking. In the similar, our internal stakeholders also will get dissatisfaction. As per CA trade already we discussed, so availability should be available as per security best practices from the European Council, ISACA, ISC square, 99.9999 and 9. Nothing but almost equals to 100%. Then only our end users will get, okay, so satisfaction and they can complete their work or their roles and responsibilities in the similar way. As I mentioned, one of the net banking website, healthcare based patient monitoring, and also travel based ticket and so on. So whenever they want to book a ticket, obviously, so if they will go to respect to application, they can go and they can book the ticket or maybe show patient appointment or maybe, so as I said, financial transaction based. So otherwise, so obviously customer will get one dissatisfaction or disliking, they will move to some other, okay, so other alternative options or choices. So this is the way, so availability issue will occur by sending the attacker flooding of the request or large number of request or more number of the request to the targeted machine. So this entire process, we can call it as flooding category of the attacks. Okay. Now, if we want to mitigate this flooding category, as I said, we have to implement defense in depth layer approach. So now this is the attacker machine and he is sending flooding of the request. Now, first entry point is our internet to ISP router. So in parallel to ISP router, now what is the mitigation we have to take care? We have to implement anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tools. So not only just anti-DOS, why I'm referring only DOS and anti-DDoS, it's applicable to TCP flood, UDP flood, sync flood, and also MAC flood, ARP flood. Okay, so ICMP flood, ping of death, it's applicable to everything. So all flooding category of the attacks, either denial of service category of the attack or distributed denial service category of the attack. So that is the reason in generic, what we'll say, first and foremost prevention or mitigation step is, so in parallel to ISP router, we have to deploy anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tools. So what are the different types of anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tools are available in the market? Couple of tools are, so Imperva, it's very famous tool for anti-DOS and anti-DDoS. In the similar way, F5, so Barracuda, WebSense. So if you want to move to AWS or Azure, so AWS side, they have AWS Shield. So in case our company entire applications are hosted in the cloud environment of Amazon Web Services, now we have to deploy AWS Shield. Otherwise, so if you feel like AWS Shield is not sufficient to taking care of the so DOS and DDoS category of the attacks, now obviously we can purchase BYOL also. That is called bring your own license. So if it Azure side, Azure DDoS protection. So these are all the different types of tools we have to implement in parallel to our ISP router. Now, what will happen if we are implementing in parallel to this particular ISP router? Whenever any flooding category of the attack is sending by the attacker, so now that particular traffic, it will go to not only ISP router, but also same traffic it will go to respective anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tool. Now, what anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tool will do? It will take care of the signature based detection mechanism, nothing but already known category of the attacks. In the similar way, so machine learning capability and artificial intelligence capability. So it will check the behavioral pattern in the past. Is there similar type of attack it is appeared in the organization point of view? And also what is the activity action is doing by the based on the behavior, based on the real time or based on the past. According to that one, either our anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tool, it will block the activity of the flooding category, whatever it's happened, or maybe it will throw an alert notification stating that so and so attacker is trying to do, okay, so flooding category of the attacks. At least we will get the alert notification. So that is the first thing we have to implement. So in parallel to ISP router, we have to implement anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tool. So that is the first prevention or mitigation or remediation step. So second step in the firewall side, what we have to do? So we have to create a DOS policy. We have to create a DOS policy for TCP flood category of the attack, UDP, sync flood, ICMP flood, ping of death, DOS policy directly. So for each and every flooding category, we have to create a policy or rule or regulation or protocol. So that is the second layer of the control. Now, third layer of the control. So obviously proxy will not take care of the flooding category. In the network IDS, network IPS side also, we have to create a DOS policy. So stating that whenever any flooding category of the too much of the sniffing of the traffic it is coming. So obviously based on the signature once again, or based on the machine learning capability, automatically alert will be triggered. So this is the way we have to implement difference in depth layer approach controls. Not only on these three layers, whatever I said just now. One is on in parallel to ISP router, anti-DOS, anti-DDoS. Second one is firewall side. We have to define the DOS policy related to all flooding category. In the NIDS, NIPS side also, we have to create a DOS policy. Last but not least, whatever server or backend database or web servers or targeted machine attacker is choosing, there we have to define the rate limit or throttling. What is meant by rate limit or throttling here? Per second, how many requests should be accepted by targeted machine? We have to define that one also, wherever the attacker is trying to do respective targeting of the recon. Now, this is not a one-day job or two-day job to taking care of the rate limit or throttling. At least, so 1 month or 2 months we have to observe the traffic per maximum how many services request it is accepting by targeted mission, whether it is accepting by one or whether it is accepting by two. So sorry, we have to always consider maximum number of requests it is accepting by peak hours plus non-peak hours. So what is this peak hours plus non-peak hours? So for example, maybe employees are working from 9 to 6. So 9 to 6, obviously 9 o'clock employees will come and they will log in, and up to 1 o'clock or 12:30 they will work. So that is like a peak hours. Too much of the flooding of the traffic it will appear, request it will appear because they will access the multiple applications or databases or servers. But so once again from 2:30 to maybe 6 or maybe 3 to 6. So that is once again peak hours. Why? Because after lunchtime, so obviously, so respect employees they will work. Now, what is non-peak hours? So in between 1 to 3 or maybe 12:30 to 2:30. So that is lunchtime, obviously. So that particular time period, we have less number of the traffic or request from the end users or maybe so respect to public as well. So this is the way we have to consider peak hours and also non-peak hours. Not average we have to consider. We have to consider maximum rate limit. So what is the maximum number of the request respect to server is accepting? So that one we have to consider. As I said, it is not 1 day job or 2 day job. We have to monitor at least. So maybe 1 month or 2 months. According to that one, we have to form the baseline. Whatever baseline threshold we are defining, that particular request we have to define in the server side also. Per second, these many requests only server should be accepted. If it is crossing that one, automatically it has to drop out. So that flooding of the request whenever attack is sent, obviously we are minimizing the risk. So this is the way we have to implement four different types of defense in depth layer controls we have to implement. If uh, one of the solution is the attack is bypassing, obviously second solution will come into picture. If this second solution is bypassing third solution in such a way, so we can implement wherever it is possible defense in depth layer approach controls or solutions so that we can mitigate DOS and DDoS category. One more thing is I want to say clarify here. Uh, First of all, whenever you are joining in a company, please identify what are the business IPs and non-business IPs. So business IPs meaning here with whom we are doing business. In the similar way, with whom we are doing the business related to domains also. Maybe I'm part of TCS. So TCS, maybe we are working with the vendors and also we are already working with the projects related to multiple continents all over the worldwide. In the similar way, maybe we are working with the our OEM vendors and also our internal stakeholders. All these business IPs and business domains we have to gather initially first. Whenever any flooding category of the attack is happening, we have to whitelist only these IPs. Remaining all other traffic, we have to compare, and wherever abnormal or malicious or suspicious traffic you are identifying, even if it is a DDoS category or DOS category, we have to verify the respective IPs and we have to check the reputation of the IPs, and finally we have to block. So this much involvement is there for any flooding category of the attacks. Okay, so these many security controls we have to implement. So it's one of the very favorite entire question also. What is meant by DOS attack and what is meant by DDoS attack? And whenever any DOS category of the attack it will appear, how can you take care of the respect incident investigation? Or maybe how can you take care of the preventive mechanisms? Okay, so that's all about overall introduction part only. Now we can go and we can discuss in-depth analysis of each and every attack under the flooding category. Okay. Do you have any questions before going to the category of the attacks? Yeah, I will explain about all these one by one. So for each and every attack. So first I will define this one flooding category. Attacker are illegitimate or unauthorized or threat actor will send flooding of the request or large number of the request to targeted machine. So the targeted machine may be. Now I have one question. So anyone can explain whether DOS and DDoS category of the attack is possible for application side? Yes or no? DOS and DDoS category of the attack is possible to application side or not? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, it is possible. Why I'm saying this one? So whenever you are making online streaming sessions or anytime you are watching any sports or games and so on, all these are real time. So like an online part. So a couple of times it will happen buffering part. So that doesn't mean that, okay, so compulsory that application related to water sports or games we are watching and the DOS and DDoS category of the attack it's happened. So there are two things here. Maybe attacker is got compromised that particular sports application or maybe game application in the similar way. So one more option also possible. Maybe your internet bandwidth is not sufficient to watch the respective match. So that doesn't mean that so those gaming applications or sports application is got compromised by DOS and DDoS. But yes, it is possible to compromise application also by sending the flooding of the HTTP request and finally backend server they'll compromise. So via HTTP response as well. So DOS and DDoS is not only applicable to our network layer, transport layer, session layer. This is applicable to application layer as well. So why I'm stressing this one? In one of the interviews, so whether DOS attack and DDoS attack is possible to application side. So people are saying that it's not possible. Only it is possible to network related layer only. So that is wrong. So DOS and DDoS is possible to each and every layer of the attack as per YSL layers. Okay. So target mission, in the target mission, I will keep like now application, end user, database, server, web server, even it is applicable to cloud instance also. Cloud instance extra. So because of that reason, what will happen? Because of the flooding of the request, targeted machine will become unavailable or damaged or crashed. And finally, business disruption or business outage, it will appear. So this type of attack is called as flooding category. Now under the flooding category, so one second. So we have different types of flooding category. Before going to types of the flooding category, so what are the preventive mechanisms? Preventive mechanisms or remediations. So as I said, in parallel to ISP router, we have to implement anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tool. So if you are implementing this one, what will happen based on the signature based and based on the machine learning capability. So either it will block the respective flooding of the request or else, so at least based on the past behavior pattern, mechanism, action or activity. So in the past, is there any similar type of attack is received? It will throw at least alert notification stating that so and so flooding category of the attack, it's happening in our organization level. So this is the way how anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tool we have to implement in parallel to ISP router. So example of couple of tools are example tools. So as I said, Imperva, it's number one. Barracuda, F5, WebSense, Citrix, Akamai. Akamai also very famous one. Okay. So these are all the couple of tools. In case if you want to monitor and detect and block in the dedicated to AWS and Azure side, we can implement AWS Shield. Same thing once again, this is also working based on the signature and also based on the machine learning capability. In the similar Azure side, we can say directly Azure DDoS protection. In the Google side also, Google right now Google they don't have DDoS protection. They are right now it is in development state. Oracle they have their own DDoS protection. So this particular feature we have to enable, or service we have to enable. These services we can call it as so native services. Oracle side, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, DDoS protection. So that is the first point. So second one, as I said, create a policy. All these things I will show in the firewall side. Create a policy in the firewall for DOS and DDoS. So that is second one. Third one, create a policy in the network IDS and network IPS. So last one, define the rate limit or throttling in backend server or firewall or web application firewall. Why I'm keeping web application firewall here? As I said, even application side also DOS and DDoS category of the attacks it will appear. So in the web application firewall also, so each application, what is the maximum number of sessions should be accepted? So that we have to define. As I said, it's not 1 day job or 2 day job. At least we have to monitor all the applications, all the servers, all the database at least 1 or 2 months. And we have to identify maximum number of sessions respect to server is accepting. So on top of that one, additionally, we have to add 30% buffer also. Why? Because if legitimate users, they are trying to access, always our organizations are like horizontal and vertical growth. Always employees will increase, obviously laptops will increase, or end user machines will increase. In the similar way, databases will be increased, applications will increase, and so on. So whenever we are doing any sizing part, especially a security architect or solution architect, if he wants to design any solution, always he will keep 30% buffer, whatever initially he defined. For example, what is meant by this one? One of the database server, maximum number of sessions it is accepting by maybe 10,000 per second. So on top of this 10,000 per second, we have to add 30% as a buffer, like 10,000 plus 30% of 10,000. That is nothing but 13,000. 13,000 per seconds database server should be accepted. So this is the way we have to define the rate limit or throttling. Otherwise, legitimate people are going to lose the service. Okay, so that is the reason, as I said, it's not 1 day job or 2 day job. Just like that, we can go and we can define the rate limit or throttling. After observing 1 or 2 months, then only we can define the rate limit or throttling. So now what is rate limit or throttling? Per second, how many requests should be accepted by targeted mission. So nothing but we have to define. So per second, how many requests it should be accepting. So that particular limit is called as rate limit. Okay. So it's like a data transfer rate. So these are all the mitigation steps for the respective any DOS and DDoS category of the attack, any flooding category of the attacks basically. Okay, so these thing and so you can give same priority, whatever I give priority, same as it is. So first you can say in parallel to ISP router, we have to implement anti-DOS and anti-DDoS. And the next one, create a policy in the firewall side for DOS and DDoS category of the attacks. And create a policy in the network IPs once again for DOS and DDoS. Last one, you can give so priority for sorry guys, some network issue. Yeah, any flooding category of the attacks. So mitigation steps are these four are common. Okay. So now types of flooding. Okay, before going to that one, I want to give note as well. So as per CIA triad or AIC triad. So CIA triad is also called as AIC triad. Okay, so depends on the different types of books, they will give different category of the abbreviation. So now as per CIA triad or AIC triad, so all flooding category of the attacks issue will fall under availability. Okay, so this is also one of the interrogation. Okay, so this one you can remember. So as I said, so as per security best practices defined by multiple organization, that may be European Council or maybe ISACA or ISC square or some other organizations, SANS top 25 and so on. So they said like it's not possible to achieve 100% availability. At least we can achieve 99%. So if you are reaching the 99%, it's a great thing basically. Always, okay, so maybe some network issues will appear or server performance related issues will appear. In the similar application performance related issues will appear. So that is the reason NOC team is nothing but Network Operation Center. So they will also monitor 24/7. So from application side or server side or network side, is there any availability issue will appear? So same thing it's happened in 2023 around March month. So Facebook is got compromised related not because of the security, because of the network issue. So Facebook 2023 around March month, network issue is appeared because of the 4 hours of the time period. For 4 hours time period only, Facebook lost approximate 6 billion USD dollars. So that much business they lost it within 4 hours time period. So even WhatsApp also lost, I think, within 2 or 3 months back also. So there are so much of millions and billions of the business loss that will happen. Take example of retail websites like Flipkart or Swiggy or Zomato or maybe Amazon and so on. So even 1 minute time period outage also for them related to availability, there are a lot of there are so much of business loss basically. So that is the reason even a NOC team also they have to monitor from networking side, application side, and server side. From security team side, our SOC team side, what we have to monitor. is there any way attacker is trying to compromise whatever target machine he is choosing? So that may be application or database, a server or end user machine, or one of the cloud instance, or one of the server, and so on. So that is we have monitor from our side. So this is the way. So we provide always availability part without any business disruption or without any business outage or with any business issues. Okay. So that's all about overall introduction part. Now types of category. So under flood, so simple attack is also sync flood attack is also called as aka. So TCP flood attack. So why we can call this one, I will explain. So second one is UDP flood attack. Once connection is established, attacker will use UDP request and he will send the flooding of the request. Next one is MAC flood attack. So attacker will send misleading of the dummy Ethernet frames to the targeted switch, and finally switch will become unavailable or damaged or crashed. So that is MAC flood. In the similar way, ARP. So attacker will send, so to know about mapping of the respect layer 3 IP address to layer 2 MAC address, flooding of the request you will send so that so router or switch will become unavailable or damaged, and so lot of confusion it will occur. So that is called ARP flood attack. Next one we have RARP obviously, and also we have ICMP flood attack. So ICMP flood attack is also called as a ping flood attack. It's one of the interior question from Capgemini, UST Global, Infosys. So next one is a DOS, denial of service. It's very, very important. So finally DDoS attack. So distributed denial of service attack. So out of all these, last four are very, very important. ICMP, ping of death, DOS and DDoS. Once again, if I want to do filtering part of out of all these 9 attacks, so DOS and DDoS. So regularly we can expect these questions. What is in by DOS attack and what is by DDoS attack, and how we can take care of the respective preventive mechanism or remediation, or else even if we're going for cyber security SOC operation vacancies, uh, one of the favorite interview question related to incident investigation is whenever any DOS category of the instant or alert is triggered via SIM tool, how can you take care of the respective instant investigation? So otherwise, so whenever any DDoS category of the attack instant is triggered in SIM tool, how can you take care of the respective instant investigation analysis and root cause analysis? So it is one of the very favorite interview question. In the similar way, as I said in our previous class, so spear phishing and whaling and malicious URL link, malicious malware attachment, and in the authentication failure category side, brute force attack and password spray, and the malware side, obviously, Trojan, virus, worm, ransomware, rootkit, logic bomb. So these are the couple of attacks regularly we can expect. So not only just on the definition point of view, but also even investigation point of view. So these are all basically practical scenario based questions only we can expect if we are going for any EDR vacancy, firewall vacancy, or SOC vacancy. So this is what they will expect. So they will ask one practical scenario or real time scenario. In that particular scenario, exactly how you can take care of the respective forensic analysis or instant investigation analysis or root cause analysis. Okay, so let's go and start now one by one. So first one is TCP flood attack or sync flood attack. So before going to sync flood attack, so first I want to explain about TCP three-way handshake. So already we have seen under the OS layers, under once again transport layer. So we have TCP protocol and UDP protocol. There we discussed about TCP three-way handshake. So TCP three-way handshake, basically it will provide a communication between peer-to-peer devices. So let's go here. Yeah. So before class has been started, as I said, so I was drawing this diagram. So this particular user on the left-hand side is a legitimate user. So this legitimate user is also called as authorized user or legalized user. So now whenever end user wants to access any website or any service or any application or any database, so first he will send as per transport layer synchronization request. Now backend server, it will respond back with sync plus acknowledgement. And finally, okay, so end user or client or peer device will respond back with acknowledgement stating that thank you so very much. So the entire process is happening in three ways, using synchronization request in between end user to backend server. In the similar way, backend server to end user or client using sync plus acknowledgement, and from end user to respect to client, sorry, server, it will acknowledgement. So that entire process is happening total 3 steps. So that's what is called TCP three-way handshake. So this is way how the normal process will work. And finally, communication will be exchanged in between peer-to-peer devices. Now, this is the normal process. Now take example of attacker here. So this attacker, we can call it as illicit. Better you can use, these are all the technical terminology instead of, so attacker or intruder, better you can illicit or illegalized. So this also called as unauthorized or illegalized. So now this is attacker or hacker or intruder. So now instead of the one request, he will send flooding of the sync request. Why we can use first of all synchronization request for connection initiation. It's one of the TCP flag already we know. So the attacker now he will send the flooding of the synchronization request to the target machine like initial setup or initial setup connection. So now you're flooding of the, when you say flooding, basically it's not about not only just one or two, it's like a millions and billions, like a large number of the request. So for example, if I want to give one practical example, maybe you are doing weightlifting under a weighing capacity 200 kilos. But if I'm giving 300 kilos, what will happen? What will happen? Your weightlifting capacity is 200 kilos. But if I'm giving 300 kilos to you to do weightlifting, what will happen? Yeah, obviously you will not lift it because your maximum capacity only 200 kilos. Finally, you'll become, okay, so exhausted. So you are not able to do the lifting, and finally you are not able to process it. You'll become unavailable or maybe damaged or crashed. Same way, here whenever attacker is sending the flooding of the request to target mission related to synchronization, here we are discussing about synchronization, sync request. Now, this targeted backend server or database or any other website, it is not able to respond back. Finally, it will become unavailable or damaged or crashed. So this particular attack is called as sync flood attack. So why sync flood attack is also called as the TCP flood attack? So already we discussed TCP three-way handshake. First request is synchronization request. For connection initiation purpose we are using. So that's why even sync flood attack is also called as TCP flood attack or ACA TCP flood attack. Okay, both are same only. Okay. because here it is in synchronization request and also acknowledgement. So that is the reason sync flood attack is also called as TCP flood attack. Now mitigation part. So mitigation side, I will ask now one person. 24001. Who is 24001? 24002. 24004. Yeah. So 24044. Okay. So now I have one question to you. So now how can you take care of the prevention of TCP flood attack or sync flood attack? What are the mitigation steps we have to consider? Anyone?
First of all, we can block that particular by writing a rules in a firewall so that
Okay, perfect.
unauthorized access so that unauthorized access will not come into this.
Okay, that's right. First one is creating a firewall policy or rule related to DOS and DDoS or sync flood attack. Perfect. Yeah. Second one. Yeah. So that is what I know. You will get confusion part. Basically, as I said previously.
Maybe for load balancing, we use load balance.
Yeah. So as I said previously, all flooding category of the attack, that may be sync flood attack or TCP or UDP or ICMP or MAC flood attack or ERP or RARP or ping of death, any category of the attack. So these are all 4 common mitigation steps. So blindly you can say these 4 steps. So one is creating a DOS on DDoS policy. If it's sync flood attack, what we have to say? Sync flood DOS on DDoS, because all flooding category, whatever we are discussing, all these are DOS and DDoS category of the attack only. Okay. So now by default you can say, so you have to implement okay, in parallel to ISP router, anti-DOS and anti-DDoS tools like, okay, all these. In the similar way, creating, someone said already, firewall policy, perfect. In the similar way, in the NIDS, NAPS also, we have to create a policy related to DOS and DDoS. And finally, so whatever target mission we attacker is trying to do respect to hacking part, we have to define the rate limiter throttling. For every mission, there is no need to define the rate limiter throttling. Whatever and wherever internet facing servers are there, those servers, it's better to define the rate limiter throttling. For internal servers, it is not facing to the internet. It is located or deployed in the trust zone or internal zone. So obviously we have less chances are there, because it will reduce the attack vector and also attack surface, because we are not exposing our servers to the public. So those servers, maybe internet is not a mandatory to access. Okay. So these are all things we have to implement. Now, how we can define this one? Sync flood attack. Attacker are unauthorized or illegitimate or threat actor will send flooding of which request? Flooding of or large number of
DOS.
sync request.
Sync.
So synchronization, yeah, to the targeted mission, so that, so as I said, targeted mission means here, so any targeted mission attacker is choosing, as I said, so that may one of the web server or one of the database or one of the DNS or DHCP, Active Directory, domain controller. So any server basically will become unavailable or business outage or business disruption, it will appear. This attack is also called as TCP flood attack. So now mitigations. So as I said, mitigations are common for all these. So same as it is for all the DOS category of the attacks. So in our next class, I mean next mock interviews, I will ask all these questions. So you have to explain about all these, what is meant by DOS and DDoS, and how can you take the mitigations. These attacks only, whatever we are discussing. So from past 3 to 4 classes, these attacks will regularly will take care of the respect to instant investigation or analysis. And one more thing, I want to give one logical answer here. So whatever preventive mechanisms we are discussing, these preventive mechanisms or remediations are log sources or data sources in cybersecurity SIM tool. These logs only we have to integrate. I'm repeating once again. SIM tool already we discussed part of several times in the class. It's a log collection, log analysis, log processing, log monitoring, and also incident investigation real-time monitoring tool. So first thing is log collection. What is meant log collection here? Whatever action or activity or computer record activity is doing by any system or any source, we have to integrate it to our SIM tool. By the way, today entire question this one. What is SIM tool? What is IBM curator architecture? Oh, so explain about roles and responsibilities. That's all. Only these 3 questions. What is SIM tool? Entire question today. Okay. So now coming back. So first thing, as said, SIM tool is a log collection. Log collection meaning here from different types of data sources or log sources, we have to collect the logs. Now, why I'm bringing this topic now? So whatever preventive mechanisms for each and every attack we are discussing now here, these are all the log sources, logs we have to integrate to SIM tool. I'm not sure how many people understand this particular concept. For example, now if you want to receive one of the DOS and DDoS category of the attack in SIM tool, which logs we have to integrate it to SIM tool? Anyone?
Firewall logs.
Only firewall?
IDS logs,
IDS.
IDS, IPS? Next.
web
I
application
said,
firewall,
yes.
proxy.
You can see here. See, what did I say? What are preventive mechanisms we are discussing? These preventive mechanism tools logs we have to integrate it to SIM tool. So what are the preventive mechanisms here? Anti-DOS, anti-DDoS. That is one of the tool. What is second one we discussed? Firewall. What is third one we discussed? Network IDS, network IPS. What is fourth one? Obviously backend server and also firewall. Web application firewall. So these are all the respective logs. We have to integrate any flooding category of the attacks if you want to see in SIM tool. Water mitigations are there. Those are all basically data sources or log sources we can integrate to SIM tool. Simple. Same thing. Now, we'll go to malware. So now malware already we discussed. We have to implement antivirus or EDR or XDR. Second one, anti-malware. Third one is the next generation firewall. Fourth one is email gateway or email security solutions. Now you can tell me if you want to see any malware category of the attacks in SIM tool as a alert notification or instant notification, what are the different types of logs we have to integrate? All malware category of the attacks if you want to see.
XDR or ADR,
Yeah,
antivirus.
exactly. Obviously, you are right.
EDR,
Antivirus, EDR,
and
XDR. Yeah.
antivirus, these all tools
Firewall.
need to be
Yes.
integrated with the SIM tool.
Web application
Yeah.
firewall.
One logic's just simple. So because most of the people, even practically, they are working in cybersecurity SOC field, even though do they have approximate 4 or 5 years of experience, they are not able to say which logs we have to integrate simple so that we can see the respect to alert notification. So simple funda, simple logic, whatever preventive mitigation steps we are discussing for each and every attack, those things are basically log source or data source in SIM tool. Is it clear?
What about this router? Basically, do we have any filtering at router part?
Router part, yes, packet filtering option is available that we can discuss part of the network security.
For this DDoS kind of attack, do we have any?
Okay. Yeah, even router also, yes, obviously for router also. Oh no, router side there is no packet filtering related to DOS and DDoS. So it is not possible basically. So obviously we have to implement even at the time of parallel to ISP router and firewall policy creation and NIDS and APS only. Dedicated router side we can't do anything. Only we can do the rate limit or throttling definition part. Separate policy we can't enable in the router side. Is it clear?
We do have router come firewalls, right? So in that case,
Router has a firewall option that to just enabling and disabling packet allowing packet dropping only, but it will not take care of the flooding category of the so whatever request it is coming to router. So that option is not available under the router side.
okay.
Okay, so that is about the first one, TCP, sync flood attack. So in the similar way, so TCP flood, this already, as I said, discussed above, discussed under sync flood attack. It's clear, right? So next one, MAC flood attack.
RK UDP we missed.
Yeah, I will go one by one. Yeah, same thing here. I have drawn this diagram. So this is basically we discussed part of the router and switch differences along with hub as well. So obviously router and switch will broadcast the traffic, whatever devices it is connected in the respective LAN, local area network. Now, basically whenever any traffic, it has to go via, so that may be inbound traffic or outbound traffic. So obviously that one we can call it as net flow data. That is also today in the equation, by the way. So net flow data. So this particular traffic, whenever end user is accessing maybe public websites or maybe internal traffic, always that particular first request, it will go to access switch. From access switch, it will broadcast whatever devices it is connected in the network. And so respect to response, it will be taken from the appropriate device only. So that is the functionality of the switch and router. So this is the way how the switch will work. Now, I will bring now attacker here. So here is a illegitimate attacker or actor or threat actor. Or adversary also. There are so many names. Now, what he will do, he will send the broadcast request using dummy Ethernet interface. Dummy Ethernet interfaces. So from this one, he will make, as I said, one physical laptop also we can create so many virtual interfaces. Each and every virtual interface has one of the physical address. That physical address we can call it as a MAC address. So now what attacker will do, maybe one of the machine wherever he is trying to do the hacking part, under that one he will make a lot of dummy Ethernet interframes. From there he will send the flooding of the request from that particular single machine only. So now here flooding of the Ethernet interfaces request, it will appear to mislead the switch or to misguide the switch or to get the confusion to the switch. So continuously you will send not only one, as I said, large number of the request or more number of the request. So here dummy Ethernet frames or MAC flood request. Now what switch can do, switch cannot respond back. Who is sending basically? There are so many Ethernet frames are coming. All are coming from the same machine. So it is misleading or misguiding to the switch, stating that whom I have to forward the traffic. So even though I'm doing the broadcasting, whenever response is coming back, whom I have to respond back. So which Ethernet interface I have to respond back. Now this particular switch will become confusion or misleading by attacker. Because of that reason, what will happen? Switch will become unavailable or damaged or crashed. So this particular attack is called MAC flood attack. Now, how we can take care of this particular preventive mechanism? Same as it is. So under the in parallel to ISP router, we have to implement anti-DDoS and anti-DDoS tool. In firewall also, we have to create MAC flood policy. Okay, or DOS policy related to WAN interface and also LAN interface. Because WAN interface is nothing but internet facing interface. From there, whatever flooding of the request it is appearing, we have to map to our internal, okay, so LAN interface. So through WAN interface, we have to create a DOS policy related to MAC. And also even in the NADS and APS also, we have to create one of the policy. Finally, in the switch side also, we can define rate limit or throttling also. Per second, only these many Ethernet interfaces requests should be accepted by the switch. If it is crossing more than that one, obviously it has to drop that request. So this is the way how we can take care of the preventive mechanism related to MAC flood category of the attacks. So how we can define this one? Same as it is, nothing will change here. So instead of the sync flood attack, we have to say MAC flood. So attacker or unauthorized or illegitimate or threat actor will send flooding of large number of dummy Ethernet frames to the targeted machine. So the target machine will become unavailable in this scenario switch obviously. So here I'll keep directly switch will become unavailable or business outage or business disruption it will appear. So this attack is called as MAC flood attack. Okay, so now if you want to mitigate this one, same as it is, as I said, we have to implement all these, okay, so preventive mechanisms or remediation mechanisms. Okay, so that's all for today, guys. We discussed about flooding category definition and also mitigation part. Then we discussed about, so flooding category will cause availability issue as per CA triad or AIC triad. And also we discussed about type of the category of the flooding category. So total 9. So far we completed only 3. Tomorrow morning I will take class at 7:30. So please join at 7:30 tomorrow morning. Okay, 1 hour I will take. So do you have any questions, guys?
RK, you said this MAC flood attack, this will go to switch, right?
Yeah,
Basically, at organization level, you have 3 different types of switches.
correct. Yes.
So the request, whatever request the attacker will give, it will go to the access switch first, is what you said.
Yes, obviously access switch, distributor switch is not a mandatory. It's like optional, as I said previously also. So first request, yes, you are right. It will go to access switch.
So is it possible that if somebody can access, I mean, attack this MAC and, distributed and the third level switch?
Yeah, it is possible. Yeah, through that one also, because from access switch, once again, the traffic, it will go to distributed, from distributed to core. So in case any, as we discussed about WARM, did you remember? So through networking protocols, it will go to other machine cells infection. Same way, this one also possible to go to other switches as well.
Okay. So actually, when we talk about this core switch also, there are chances that it will attack. It will get attacked.
Yes, yeah. Any other?
In TCP three-way handshake, actually, is it more secure, right? Basically,
Yeah,
everyone saying TCP handshake is secure like that.
No, basically TCP, it is not a secure protocol. It is only it will complete three-way handshake. It is basically in between acknowledgement and feedback will be there. That we cannot consider as a completely, it's a secure way of communication basically. So it just only it will do what it will do, error control only and also flow control. That's all. But it will not provide a secure way of communication like encrypted channel, authenticity, authorization. All those things it will not happen. Those things will happen only through session layer.
Okay. Let's suppose if in that sync flood attack actually,
Hmm.
so if packets sent to synchronization request to acknowledgement. So once I'm getting acknowledgement,
Hmm.
then a attacker is how is it possible to because only acknowledgement request only I will get the response. Without, if you are an attacker, you are sending more sync request without acknowledgement, then it won't affect, right?
Yeah, that is the reason. So basically, when the attacker also sending the synchronization request flooding, so now, so backend server is not aware of who is sending what. So whether internal end user is sending or external attacker is sending. Maybe attacker can use the IP spoofing concept also here. Maybe Tor IP, the onion router IP. So on behalf of the end user also, attacker will send the by spoofing of the original IP address and he will send the request. Then what backend server will think now? Backend server will think like, so these requests it is coming from the legitimate private IP instead of the public IP. So he's masking his original identity. Obviously, in that scenario, it will respond back to that particular acknowledgement. So finally, obviously, so attacker will try to compromise so our backend server. Okay.
Got it. Yeah, got it.
Any other? Okay, then that's all for today evening, guys. Once again, apologies from my side. I did not take almost 9 days class, and see you tomorrow at 7:30.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Of your help.
Take care.